Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Friends Next Door. It's Dan.
It's Mia.
It's Thomas.
Woo woo! We're together again. It seemed like only two or 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Two.
Okay,
No, two.
So, in the midst of a global pandemic, the three of us decided to start a podcast some time ago. In the beginning of 2020 sometime. And the world was a very different place back then. And we wanted to recall the last couple years. And the first episode we did, or maybe the second one, was about COVID.
Yeah, how we were coping with.
Right.
Because it was at the heights of the pandemic.
It was. And, and I had a man bun. Thomas had a scraggly...
Oh, God.
He had like old kung fu master beard and mustache.
Maybe this was a bad idea.
We were home every day. There's nobody on the streets. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then we did a COVID follow-up a year ago or something like that. And now it's been it's going to be about 3 years now, right? Since 2020. So we're at 2022 or 2.5 years. Okay, my timing is off. But honestly,
it's okay, Dan.
it feels
all
like
of us.
It's COVID.
It feels like 5 years has gone by.
Yeah.
And I think now we're at the point in the world where we are living with this in society. It's not going away. People are still getting sick. And we want to do an episode where it's like, this is almost like post-COVID.
This is our life now. This is, when they say the new normal, this is really the new normal.
And I was curious, like, I wanted to talk to you guys about it and seeing like, are you in the mindset now that I've adapted and this is what it's like going forward? Because some people might still have hope that, I can't wait because I hear this all the time. I can't wait till things get back to normal.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't think things are ever going to get back to normal. So I've already...
Normal as in pre-COVID, right?
Right. It's never going to be like that. You can't just be like, COVID's completely gone. Look at the world, okay? There are spikes in cases all over the place. As soon as we're talking about 2.5 years later and Shanghai is shut down for 60 days. I mean, nobody can go out. Nobody can get food. We're talking about like 60-day house arrest. And if you go out, you'll be like...
Right.
You'll be like...
And if we're talking
shocked.
lockdown, right? Lockdown in the United States versus in China.
Yeah.
In
it's
Asia.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Or in Australia or Canada or UK or wherever.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to talk to you guys about it and see where you guys are at. Because I know we've all gone back to work. Some of us like physically like returned to the office. We all moved now a couple times, apartments. And it's like, where are we at now? Like, where's your mindset? Are you like, okay, holding out hope that things will be different, or you've completely adapted to this new way of life that we have?
That is a big question. And to me, it's interesting to see how individuals react, because we react differently depending on your own situations, right? I do have friends who are still looking at COVID numbers, for example, and then, depending on what those numbers look like, they feel comfortable or not comfortable being out there. Yeah. And they're still kind of hoping for a world where COVID is probably next to zero.
And I feel like a lot of people are in that realm. Like I think people still are holding out hope that one day it's going to be like we don't even have to talk about it. But
I'm always curious when I hear people say, when this is all over, we're going to be able to do ... And in my mind, I'm thinking, what do you mean by when this is all over?
Because a year ago, I would say I was in that mindset and we were all still saying the same thing.
Right.
Hey, like, okay, eventually this is all going to be done. Nope.
Yeah.
2022, half of the year already went by. Just doesn't look like it's going away from the world. The situation in the United States, parts of it has gotten better, but global numbers are still, there's still countries like still dealing with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So So it's very much tailored to our own surroundings and our own circumstances.
And also, if I remember too, when we talked about this for the first time, you guys and the three of us were dealing with it differently, you know, because I had Yi at home, and I remember you guys at the time, y'all were single, so like, you
were spending time with family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was in New York for the first 3 months, aka the worst months.
The worst month.
From March 2020 to June 2020, right? So in that period of time, I had roommates, but I was pretty much living alone.
Right.
So as you said, you have Yi, right? You have your significant other. So you sort of have your own, tribe.
Exactly.
So I got depressed and I ran away from New York.
That's right.
And then I went to California.
Because that's where your family was.
Right. And basically spent the next year
in we were recording
California.
via Zoom this podcast.
Right. Yeah, so that's how I coped with that.
Right. But now it's like you're here.
Yeah.
You're in New York. How has this changed? Like you obviously go see your family now. It's kind of how you would normally. Like you miss them, you can go see them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's for me, I would say that life is almost becoming normal, meaning, I try to go out. I'm living by myself, but I have been accustomed to it. I go back to working out, and to me that's like the normalest it will ever get, because with COVID, how it feels being in an indoor situation, right? When you're like working out with several people. So that's like the highest level of scary.
Yeah.
But I've started going back to work. So I mean, as far as that concerned, I feel like COVID is not really a concern for me anymore, not as much anymore, because I feel like there are other things that are scarier than COVID.
Yeah, same for me. I feel like COVID's not over per se. Like it's kind of like the flu by now to some degree.
Yeah.
But
just a super contagious flu.
Right.
Yeah.
right. But like more or less, it's just like I'm kind of living as if. Just like going about my day as if it's not there.
Right.
And I think one unique situation for us is that we're in New York and we don't have children.
Right.
Because
we live alone.
Right.
Exactly. And especially for New York, I remember that my Bay Area friends were much more cautious about COVID.
Okay.
And I think one of it is that to get anywhere they have to drive, so
Right.
they're like very used to being away from people.
Correct.
Like you have like levels of barriers, right?
Interesting.
Versus for New York, if you want to get anywhere, you either have to
You have
walk,
no choice.
or you take public transportation. So you have to rub shoulders with people. So you more or less get used to that, right?
Correct.
Like now, there's no one wears a mask on the subway, for example.
Really?
Yeah.
Not that many. Not that many.
I take the subway almost every day. I feel like a good amount of people still wear the mask on the subway.
I see like maybe a third at most.
Oh, interesting. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't wear one on the subway.
Yeah.
I'm like not like getting close to anybody. And it's not pre-COVID times where you're I don't want to say I miss this, but that feeling of getting shoved into somebody's back every day.
Yeah.
We'll never see that again. I mean, the subway numbers are still like completely.
And the thing is,
like abysmal.
I can relate to that. And I'm also small, so they can never see me. They never see
Oh
me.
my!
They always see over my head. They're like, is somebody there?
Okay, have you ever gotten someone's pit right in your face? 'Cause
Yeah, of
you're-
course. When they're, yeah. Let's not talk about.
Oh, the BO before. See, now it's
Somebody
different.
flicked their sweat on me. Remember?
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now it's different because before it's like people's BO. Now it's just like homeless BO. Because it's still like tons of homeless people.
There's
on
just
the
too
subway.
many subway
Yeah.
horror stories.
Yeah.
Let's not
Anyways,
go there.
It's more or less normal for me in New York City now.
Yeah.
Because I think naturally I just adapted. You know, like I've also
And that's the other thing. Like, plus New York City is always changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're actually constantly adapting to the city
all the time.
right?
I've
That's
also-
actually
yeah.
really interesting because New York City has gone through so many
Yeah,
traumatic events.
exactly. New York
all
is
the time.
Yeah, New Yorker is constantly adapting
We're
to
always
the city.
dealing with something.
Exactly.
If you live here long enough, you've lived through like crazy tragedies.
Exactly.
global events and all that stuff.
Exactly. And like the other part was like we don't have children. Like
Yeah,
the
that's the other
city,
thing.
the
That's
city
huge.
just lifted the mask mandate for children
Right.
and schools, right? So
I didn't know that.
that's huge for them,
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So like, especially if you had to like educate your child at home or something
Right.
like that, or like find a caretaker or whatever. That's like a huge difference,
it
right?
is.
In terms of
Yeah.
what like normal or like how you go about your day.
Yeah.
So like I think that's like what makes it different for us.
I feel like for you both, because you both travel a lot and you have family elsewhere, it was difficult. And now as you can travel easier, I think it's easier to return to some sort of normalcy. Because like I never traveled, so it doesn't affect me.
Actually, traveling during COVID was not so bad at all because nobody was traveling,
nobody-
so no one was on the plane.
I guess I was, in my mind, it was hard. There was a lot of restrictions. when you
There was
travel.
at one time when I came back to New York where I had to fill out a form and self quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a requirement, even for domestic travel.
Yeah, because now you're going back to Indonesia for the first time in like 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Our friend Felicia still hasn't gone
Yeah.
back to Australia for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
She used to go every year.
A lot of people are revenge traveling right now.
Did you say revenge?
Revenge
Oh,
traveling.
That's a great term.
Because they're like,
Pent up, you know?
Yeah. Revenge traveling. And then I still have friends that, they just completely became nomadic, and then
Yeah.
like that's a
Yeah.
whole nother, like, completely just changed their lifestyle.
it's
Yeah.
crazy
You
if
know,
you think
and, like,
about it.
And it works for them and they like it, Or I know people that left New York City and then clamored to come back because they just missed it so much. In fact, the real estate market is so terrible for renters because everyone was like,
I'm
all
dealing
right,
with that
I'm
right
done.
now.
I went home for 6 months and I am bored and
Yeah.
I want to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a level of like productivity when you do go to the office every day or even a few days a week.
Yeah.
And you interact with coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get in New York, I feel like we're all very dependent on our routine. And once our routine gets shattered, we're like, what's going on? Because people like wake up, get their morning coffee, go to the gym, go run, go walk their dog, go, get dressed, go to work, do their thing at work, go work out again or whatever, right?
Right.
And once that gets disturbed, we're all like, we don't know what's going on.
Right. Right.
That's a good point. I mean, also life in New York in general, not just for us, felt like it's back to normal because,
Yeah.
Broadway shows are now
Broadway show-
back.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you can like
Concerts
go
are
do
back.
stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I think that's the major part, like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can go do stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Not that I enjoy the lockdown,
Yeah.
but I do miss that places didn't have lines.
Yes.
So like it was really easy to go to Prince Street Pizza during lockdown.
Right. Like go to the places that you always wanted to go.
Yeah.
Like, we should do a New York bucket list because we did a bucket list episode. But we should do a New York bucket list.
Oh yeah.
What are
for
some of the examples?
Well, like Thomas said, Prince Street Pizza, which is completely overrated in my opinion. Or like say wait in line for Dominic Ansel, or go to like Les Bernardin. Go to these like
Okay.
New York
Yeah, yeah.
institutions. Anyways,
Right.
I digress. I can basically crap on a bunch of places.
I also, remember the first couple months when New York was pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Yes, you can go to restaurants and not have to wait in line, but also the food quality at the time
Oh,
for,
yeah, I remember it
for
was
some
like-
reason was just
Well,
really
most
bad.
of the places like cut down the menu items because you just
Sourcing,
didn't have,
right.
sourcing, you didn't have
Staffing,
enough staff.
yeah.
The one thing the one thing I do miss, excuse me, and I think it's gonna be like this for a while now. Is like nothing's open after like 8 o'clock.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because New York literally used to be the city that never sleeps. Like I'll go, the only thing that's open now are still the bodegas, which are fine. But in the past, at least like 2 a.m. cookies, 2 a.m.
Right.
Like
Right.
pizza, 2 a.m.
Cookies at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Insomnia or something.
Insomnia
But
cookies.
now it's like,
Right.
okay, I know this is first world problems, and probably I shouldn't be eating cookies or pizza at 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m. in the first place.
But sometimes, like, I want a late meal at like
Right.
10, and there's no options. And
Right.
now I have to cook something.
Right,
Again,
exactly.
first world
Like New York
problems.
is like New York City is like one of those places where you want to be to like be able to get anything at any time,
Anytime,
right?
yeah.
Like right now, probably
We're
the only
speaking like
places
spoiled
I
people.
know. I mean, this is why we come to the city. Then this is why I like it here. Actually, like
Yeah, I mean, not everyone-
I profess that I really enjoy living in the city.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, no one's like begging other people to come here.
Yeah,
But
like
I
probably,
actually don't like New York, but whatever. I have to be here because my family's here, my job's here. But
probably
Same.
right now, K Town's the only thing that's open past midnight.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Oh, and
Like
yeah.
K Town's like crazy popping right now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like a club on the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That whole block.
I mean, we're not about that life anyways. I don't know. I'm not. Maybe you are, Mia. I feel like
What are you talking about?
I don't know. But I've definitely just like, it's like pretty normal for me knowing that if there is another outbreak, I know what to expect. Like, because we've done it now. Mm-hmm. So there's no unknowns. Because before it's like, how long will this last?
I don't know if we can say there's no unknown because I feel like there's always unknown.
I feel like if there's another, like we kind of know what the procedure is, right? Like either a lockdown, mask mandate.
Probably. I don't know.
You know, like it, because we've seen it now. Because before, the unknown is how long is this going to last? And the first time they lifted the restrictions was like a whole, like, oh my God, we can now go out. And now it's just like, I feel like we're at the point like other countries were in Asia when SARS happened. It's like when something happens, they kind of already know the drill. And we know the drill now.
Okay.
So if there's another variant or whatever, or another different COVID, or whatever.
A different kind of disease.
We just
Oh my
kind of
God.
know, like, okay, this is the procedure. These are the things that are going to be hard to get.
Toilet paper.
TP, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, like when COVID hit, Yi went nuts and thought, like, she went doomsday on me. Like she bought like paper water, like gas masks, and like she went nuts.
I love
Do
it.
you guys still have all the stuff?
No, I
Okay.
got rid. I couldn't wait to get rid of this stuff because I'm like, the apocalypse is not coming.
I remember Yi and I and our friend Kathy went out for dinner on sometime in February 2020. So this was before COVID hit the United States, right?
That's right. 1 month before.
Yeah, like around Chinese New Year, we were already talking about it at the time
That's
because
right.
it was already
Because our family
big
in
in China
Asia,
and like Asia.
that's
yeah,
right, was alerting us to like, hey, this is about to happen.
this is happening.
Oh.
Well, we didn't know at the time that it was going to hit.
Side note,
Yeah.
I remember in January when it was happening, I told my one coworker, I go, hey, be careful. There's something going on in Asia. It might come here. And everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then bam, it
And
happened.
at the time we were trying to look for masks and we
Yeah.
couldn't find any. Everything was sold out. And at the time we were just like, oh, what was it? N95?
Yeah.
That's what you need to get. And we couldn't get any.
Yeah.
And I managed to get a little bit. And then I was like, must bring these home for my parents because, you just never know.
Yeah.
With this limited quantity that we were able to get, we still have those to this day. My dad wore it once and he was like, yeah, this is not going to happen. I can't even breathe in this mask.
I got a bunch of like reusable masks that I still have, like a bag of, like the ones you wash, and I'm like, should I get rid of these?
Yeah.
What if there's another shortage?
Oh my God.
Whatever.
I mean, in hindsight, I think we were definitely lucky, right? That we were still able to be here until today.
Yeah.
I mean, I think New York, honestly, like, I don't know what the rest of the world thinks or reads, but we're really fortunate, like we went through a long period of lockdown, but afterwards we haven't had to go back.
Right.
And for whatever reason, it's like, and there's lots of people here in New York. I'm getting breathed on all the time.
Yeah.
Like also because I had COVID and it hit me hard. And then I'm like,
it
okay.
did. It was last year.
It was last year, February 2021. I got hit hard. I lost my sense of taste, my smell.
Wow.
I was like exhausted. I mean, I felt like a different person. And then I luckily, got through it. And I'm like, okay. And I've gotten sick since then, like colds and flus, just not COVID.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, well, hey, like, let's, it's not as bad as when I first got it, because I got like I think I got the Delta. Like I got it. Like, I wasn't the people that got it the worst were like January, like. I had the long haulers, like that first strain that came to the United States, that they couldn't smell or taste for 3 months.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Because now more people are vaccinated too, and now I feel like maybe it's less symptomatic or whatever, and you recover faster.
Yeah, it's just so crazy because there's just so many things that were happening at once. Like the first wave, we had no idea what it was. There's those crazy videos that are coming out of China, and we're like, what is this?
Yeah,
and
the crazy ones were the ones where like someone was just walking on the street and they just like
collapse.
they would like seize up and then collapse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Is this real?
yeah.
And then also, I feel like when COVID was happening in New York City, the city was also dealing with other stuff, and it made it way worse. And now it's like if it's just a COVID situation, like higher cases, and there's not other things that are going on. All right, I feel like we can deal with it.
Because
Like, we
COVID
know
now
how
is
to deal
different
with it.
versus what it was.
Yeah, because
Back
before there
then.
was so many other factors. Like there were there was a lot of things going on in New York City.
Yeah.
I feel like now,
I think people just didn't take it seriously until it actually hit really hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I had coworkers who, one of them went to Switzerland or like Europe, like right as a travel ban from Europe got announced.
Yeah.
And that like Italy was going through the thick of it already, and like it had gotten to New York City already. Like another friend who went to like a Celine Dion concert in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And it's just like no one took it seriously. You know?
I agree.
Yeah.
And now people do, because they sometimes, unfortunately, you might know somebody that got really sick or even worse died.
Yeah.
Or a family member died, and now I feel like for the longest time, like people just didn't understand what was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know, because in our family back home, they deal with this.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, this is, now the irony is like in Asia, it's even worse.
Yeah. But
like
what's
in
also
Shanghai.
interesting was that while New York City was going through peak lockdown in like July, so I did a road trip to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Providence, like Newport and Providence, they didn't have lockdown at all.
Yeah. A lot of cities, I think, were just kind of like,
Yeah,
They just-
but that was also because they were actually responding to their data, their local data.
Right.
Like they didn't see that much of a case count and
Right.
everything. So they're just like, nah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And they're, especially if they're by the water, it's just like kind of outdoors and whatever. So like for me, like I kept a pretty close eye on the data. I'm like, who, like what was the demographic that got infected, or like how they fared and things like that. So for me, like I was never particularly like afraid of like getting it or something like that, because like statistically I'll make it.
Yeah.
Or just like if you're outdoors, you're likely going to be okay, right?
Yep.
So just things like that. So I never like worried too hard about it, and I think that's what helped get me through.
Yeah.
And especially once like the lockdowns lifted and like Omicron hit and everything, and it's just like, well, Omicron is like basically just the flu almost.
Right.
It was almost like a natural gift to some degree.
Natural vaccine.
Yes, a natural like you build natural. It's like the best natural immunity you can build.
Right.
Like right now, I don't even know what kind of strain is popular right now or like trending right now.
I mean, as long like we had a grandma, so as long as like we paid attention to her,
That's the
you're
thing.
gonna get COVID. You're gonna get it. Like I know people that were very neurotic about it, and for the longest time, like they would still spray everything out. And guess what? 2 months ago, they got it. So you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
You don't know where it's gonna come from, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna live my life as long as like I'm being. If somebody said, Dan, I don't feel comfortable putting on a mask, I'll put on a mask.
Yeah, so that's
exactly.
the thing,
I
right?
don't
Because
care.
like the COVID quote unquote experience is
Yeah.
very tailored to what we're seeing surrounding us. So which is why the way we deal with it is very different.
Yeah, like initially when there was so much unknown about it, like people
I
wore
was hella
people
scared.
Yeah.
wore gloves,
Yeah.
people people sprayed disinfectant everywhere,
God,
and then
that's-
after a while it's just like there's not much. There's like this is like surface is not a transmission vector.
Right.
I'm like I'm done with gloves. I'm
Yeah,
like there's
I'm
no
glad
point
I
in
didn't have
wiping
to
things
spray
down.
down all my
Remember when we went to
groceries.
yeah.
No, I never did that.
We had gloves on and stuff. It was bad. But yeah, so now like I see that fear can be paralyzing, right? So and when with some people, they're paralyzed by fear even now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know.
My aunt
Yeah.
had for 2 years did not leave the house.
Oh wow.
She did not leave
Wow.
the house since the day since like March 2020 until I would say like 3 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So she would get everything delivered, and she's older. She'd get everything
Right.
delivered.
Right. Like if you're older, I get
Yeah.
it. I get it.
And I go, Auntie, yeah, like listen, do your thing.
Yeah.
Like do what's comfortable.
Right.
You know, like I've had friends recently, you know, hey, I'm gonna have a birthday party. I want everyone to get tested who's coming. No problem. Go, you know, now it's easier. The problem before is like it's hard to get tested because there's a
Right.
line. Now we could just go down the street
Yeah.
and you get a PCR test.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that.
Right.
Right. So
Exactly.
so we now have the systems in place to
Yeah.
know as soon as we feel something, okay, if you have it, stay home.
Yeah.
Like that's me. Like when I had it, stay at home. Like didn't go out. I alerted everyone. Like I respect. Like I don't want to get anyone sick.
Yeah.
You know. But now I would say like I do miss the time that I had. Like because like I was like reading my books. I was like, because this is the like you because you don't have a lot of hobbies.
Again, because we don't have kids.
You don't have kids, and you guys don't have as many hobbies as me. Like,
Yeah.
like during COVID time, I was like, oh my god,
I can do this, I
everything
can do that.
want.
Right.
Oh my god,
Building
you
your
know,
Legos.
building my Legos, like reading my books, like learning a new craft, and now I'm like just work. You know, so I do miss that.
I want to ask you something though. So like when you got COVID, did you feel like it was a personal failure on your part?
That's interesting. Like I wasn't careful enough.
Yes, I've heard that so many
Interesting.
times.
Really?
Yes, I have.
I did not think that at all because to me, so when I got it, I was masking up every day because my job, like I was doing real estate then in person, right? We're allowed to. So I had sprays on me
Yeah.
and, you know, I had to have it at open. I had to, like we had a lot of restrictions. So I was
Yeah.
super careful
Yeah.
and still got it. So I didn't feel,
Did you kind of know how?
what do you mean?
Do you have
how
an
I got
inkling of how
I
you
think,
got it?
I think I went out for a meal one day. You know, it was crowded. It's still crowded in these places.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Could have gotten it from somebody in the elevator when we go see an
Yeah.
apartment.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
You just
Right.
never know.
Yeah.
And I had my mask on.
Yeah. Like I heard
You
so
know?
much of that. Like I wasn't careful enough. Like
Yeah.
like New Year's we had a party, right? And then my
The recent one.
yeah.
The recent one. Yeah.
And this is when Omicron happened, right?
Yeah.
And then my friend and his wife didn't come because he got COVID.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then the first thing he said, I wasn't careful enough.
Interesting.
And then
But,
I'm like,
yeah.
well, I mean, Delta was already transmissive enough.
Yeah.
And then when Omicron hit, I'm like, Omicron is like Thanos.
You're going to get it.
Inevitable.
It's
Yeah.
inevitable.
Yeah.
Like, you can
Like,
be super
unless
careful and
you're-
still get it.
Yeah, unless you're like vacuum sealed
Yeah.
in a shelter or whatever,
Yeah.
then you're like,
And even then, like, let's say the delivery person, I don't know, they give you a delivery, maybe they like breathed on your food. Like, who knows? I don't know. Like, there's just, look, to me, it's one of those things where if the universe says you're going to get it, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
yeah, like even now, like I have friends like, oh, I've never gotten COVID. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep it that way.
They're going to get it. I had a friend who didn't get it for literally until like a month ago.
Wow.
And
I didn't get it until a month ago.
And the thing is, he did everything. You were living like normal. He was
Right.
doing everything
Right, and
possible.
that's the thing. It's
you
just
know?
like it just seems like an exhausting way to live. Like if
Yeah.
you're in the danger category, I get it, right?
Yeah.
If you're immunocompromised or something,
Yeah.
or if you're more elderly, I get it, right?
Or if you live with somebody
right, right.
that is
It-
immunocompromised.
like that I understand.
Totally.
But if you're just like young, like
Us, no
able-bodied,
kids,
exactly.
like-
We're like, why the fear kind of
Yeah.
deal? Like, or I mean, this is also me after like seeing all the data from like not just the U.S. but like
Yeah.
other countries. What demographic gets hit hard? Like, what are the transmission vectors? Things
Right.
like that. It's just like why.
Yeah.
It's like live your life, and that's why I think that's also contributed to why I've gone back to kind of living as normal as I can be,
Right.
because it's just like I like, not that I'm not careful, I'm not trying to like breathe breathe in other people's like
Right.
vapor,
or lick poles on the subway.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I gotta say, I'm definitely way more conscious today. Like whenever, you know, before it was like a no-brainer. You meet somebody, shake hands, hug. I'm more conscious about them, what they're comfortable with.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So
that I understand.
There's
Yeah.
always
Right.
like that. Now, when you meet somebody, there's that hesitation of like, haven't seen you in a long time. Are you okay? With
Are we going with a hug? Are we going
yeah.
with a
Yeah, are we go-
handshake?
or like,
Are we,
or like a
fist?
fist bump,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
elbow bump.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, so
Like, if it was awkward before, it's even more
It's-
awkward now.
Yeah. Yeah. I default to the fist bump. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
like
really?
like in general before, I didn't like touching
Yeah.
people, so it works out for
are you
me.
gonna like do a kick, a toe, you know, like kick, feed, like a, you know, I don't know. Yeah, because I was always, like, yeah, I don't care. I'll hug somebody.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm more aware of how people feel, or at least I'm trying to guess about their level of comfort.
That's right.
So, and I can adjust to that.
And I also think I think workplace now it's changed forever. Like I don't know if any, unless you're in a business where you have to physically be there. I think from now moving forward, if somebody's like, maybe I want to work off site, and they're like, okay, they're like for the first time the tech companies are letting people move to New York. And that's why New York real estate's so bad. So good, but so bad.
Which I hate.
Because they're all like, oh, we're out. Facebook says we can go to the East Coast now. We're going there, for the first time. Or Google's like, yeah, go for it. So I mean, the last 8 apartments, I think everyone from Google Dublin came.
Oh my God.
I'm Google Dublin?
Yeah, I knew 3 people applied. They were all from the Ireland office.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, are you all just coming? This is what's going on. All these people are like, I want to be in New York. I want to be in New York. I'm like, I guess everybody wants to be in New York.
It's the place to be.
It's a place to be. I don't want to be here, but I have to be here. So I rather,
I've been saying that I don't want to be here, but I'm still here.
You have to be here.
I have to be here.
I like that.
Do
I'm
I?
the only one that likes it here.
Yeah, you are
because you had it is fun. It's exciting. There's
but ironically, I don't really do any of the exciting things here.
No, that's not true. I feel like you're a foodie and you love experiencing new places, and there's no other place in the United States.
And I like walkability too.
Walkability.
Yeah.
You like the variety.
You just walked the bridge today, didn't you?
Yeah.
What?
Didn't you just walk the bridge from Manhattan to?
No.
Oh, you didn't walk?
No, that was Apple Maps being really dumb.
I thought you actually walked.
Yeah, so I selected public transportation and it told me to walk across the bridge.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
I wasn't going to spend an hour to walk.
Yeah. And I feel like another thing too is because of COVID, I feel like there's people that try to use it to to gain power, political power. So that anything that happens in the world, there's always a group or somebody that's trying to use it to, and I feel like that kind of stinks too. Cause I feel like New York is right now, we're also in this weird time where everyone's, there's a lot more violence there, there's just in a weird place. And I feel like that's not so much COVID's fault. It's we're just in a weird place right now in New York City. So
my friend was just telling me the other day how there's just more people engaging in quote unquote antisocial behavior where they're just kind of rude to strangers or randomly yell at other people or and not mentally ill crazy people. They're just I'm trying to get a thrill off of it or something.
Wow.
Or random acts of violence, right?
I mean, there's been more for sure. It's been tragic. There's been senseless killings, and that's not because of COVID. It's just a weird time that we're in. But I feel like some of it, I think because of this thing, some people might want to take advantage and try to use that for their own political gain.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's COVID specifically, but definitely the lockdown. Just if you look at the drug usage rate during COVID, it peaked or it skyrocketed, right? And same with other kinds of death. I think suicides might have gone up or something.
I can imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
And
mental health is
mental
now
health, right?
huge.
And was a phrase child abuse reports went down because they weren't going to school anymore. So it's just all these things, or it's just
should we say the butterfly effect? Domino effect?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we may not see it now, but it's kind of there.
That's also, so that's interesting too, is because now we've seen the effects of the negative effects of what a global pandemic can do, because in order to try to negate it, people become isolated.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the actual data is, but I could see there's a normal way that humans want to function, and it's good, and that this is a slow death almost. People become isolated, kids become isolated,
right?
They don't become social,
right?
I feel like a lot of people have become introverted in the
Yeah,
process, you know, in the
exactly.
last 2.5 years.
or depressed.
Yeah, or depressed,
Yeah.
or both.
No, and,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
straight up, there were times when you're collecting a government check, like people just didn't want to go to work.
No,
Like literally,
100%.
like
100%,
people are
yeah.
like, "Why I make more now collecting
Right.
unemployment than going to my actual job? I'm just not going to go to my job."
This is
The
some
productivity.
wild times
Yeah,
that
some
we're
like
living
it's
through.
wild, but I feel like now at least like okay, like
You kind of know, like,
We're
okay, this world is crazy.
Yeah.
Right? What do I
you-
do
you
with
just-
it?
Yeah,
right?
we just kind of seem
How
like
do I
some-
deal?
Yeah.
How do you deal?
So I mean, now I just now this is the new norm to me. There's this looming, pandemic. There's this looming, like COVID is always going to be around. Like
Yeah.
it's never going to
Yeah.
be eradicated.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And there's
Sorry.
always there's a heightened sense of fear, at least for
Yeah.
me, right? If it wasn't COVID, then it's something else. Like safety is now an issue, as
Yep.
we were just talking about it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Or some other like crazy virus that might come up to the surface. And
Yeah.
just like this overall feeling of there's always something scary waiting for me around the corner.
Yeah. But here's the thing though, it's like
Monkeypox.
Monkeypox?
yeah, exactly.
Just
It's like
kidding.
media was really trying to push monkeypox for the
Yeah.
past couple of weeks, right? Until you find out,
Like-
it's only transmits through extremely intimate contact.
Yeah, it's basically like I was like, is this an STD? Like, okay, so
Sounds like it.
Well, not, but it may be.
Right. I mean,
Borderline,
it's just like it's like
you know?
it's not like aerosol.
Airborne.
It's
It's
not
not
airborne.
airborne.
It's like you have to be really like
Yeah,
swap
exactly.
saliva basically.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, this is not as bad. Media is
Right.
just like
Or they'll hop
sensationalizing
on,
it.
or they'll hop on the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just like, I mean, fear sells, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's something important to remember. And like
Yeah.
the other part is that when there's a lot of fear, whether real or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like politicians especially, will try to take advantage of that.
Come on in.
Hello,
Hey guys,
we have
our door. We have
a visitor.
Visitor for those.
We have the
that,
person who never listened to our podcast.
Yes. The person the person that
Oh,
never
shoot, she
wants to
listened to
join
2
me
episodes.
on my bucket list things. Anyways, yeah. I mean, we're in a new age now, so yeah. I feel like I'm for the first time I'm pretty comfortable because I feel like I've seen the worst, and that's my wishful thinking. So
And
I'm
the
like,
next thing we're gonna look at is a possible recession.
yeah, but to me, like that's a normal thing in society.
True.
We've had
I mean-
it multiple times.
This is true.
I feel like
you
I've
know.
gotten used to this feeling of like constantly being
Yeah.
worried that I'm just not like going to
Like, 'cause
worry
feel
about things
desensitized.
anymore.
Yeah, like recession. I mean, I don't know how many times in the last 22 years there's been like at least three times. So I'm like, okay,
But I feel like at this point in time, everything scary is happening
Yeah.
at once.
that's true.
So
Yeah,
worst nightmare.
But I mean, it's definitely what you said though. Like if you've gone through it once, you kind of get used to it. Like for example, I've survived 5 layoffs.
oh, nice.
That's impressive.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'm like a cockroach.
You
Dude.
just keep coming back.
There you go.
No, but it's like I remember the first one was very shocking, and
Yeah.
because it's not just it's like, oh, your company's not doing so hot maybe,
Yeah.
and your friends and your colleagues are gone.
Yeah.
You're worried about them too.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
after a while, you're like, oh, like
Yeah.
people land on their feet.
Yep,
like
they do.
they'll like
They're
over
all- you'll all-
over time
yeah.
they'll be okay. And actually the severance package is pretty nice too.
Yeah, you get a severance package. The way that it's set up in the U.S. is that like, if you get fired, there's a lot. You're gonna get unemployment. You're gonna have, like you said, severance package. So
Yeah.
as long as you're not a lazy person, you're
Yes,
gonna find
that's a key
another
thing.
job.
That was a
right?
key thing, yeah.
And if you're smart about your money, you probably put away a little bit so that you can still live a lifestyle. So I think it's okay.
Yeah.
We went from monkeypox to layoff in
Recession.
like the
Yeah.
span
Inflation.
of 5 minutes. Yeah.
Spiral doom of society.
So guys, are you like living your normal lives right now?
I'm close to. I think
Okay.
so.
I think
Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm doing anything specifically out of the ordinary now.
Yeah.
I mean, other than working from home.
But
which is-
versus like, because I feel like both of you guys, there was a period of non-normalcy.
oh,
Correct.
yes, that's
like,
true. Yes.
Correct.
Like a roller
Being a
coaster
hermit.
period. Being a hermit, dealing with like isolation, dealing with like no human contact, this
Yeah.
and that, worrying about. Because like with me, you guys know, like I basically was like from 2020 till 2022. I just adapt every step of the way.
Mm.
Oh, I'm at home now. Okay, I'm just gonna read my books and cook my meals. Okay, I can go back to work. I'm just gonna go back to work. I guess. Oh, I got COVID. Stay home for 10 days. Okay, now go back to work. Like, I mean, I feel like I've just been, I just always deal. That's how I deal with things. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a constant, like,
Yeah.
Right.
adapt right then and there.
So you're the real cockroach.
I'm the real cockroach, guys. You cannot get rid of me.
Yeah.
There's
You'll
no
constantly
situation that I won't adapt to.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like after last, like when did we go on our trip? Like September-ish? September,
October-ish.
Yeah. Like after that, I think
Yeah.
I felt much better about everything.
Yeah. I think also like because for my childhood, I had to move every year for like from the ages of like 6 to 11. So to me, it's just like, okay, pack up, like had to move my life, start all over again. So I'm like, all right.
Interesting. Would you?
No biggie.
Would things be different if, let's say, you live with your mom here?
Yes.
If she
Yes,
was
because that's
here.
a major lifestyle change.
Yes.
Than living with the parent.
Also, living with an elderly parent
That's
at
true.
home, right? They're,
Yeah.
quote unquote, like higher risk category.
Right.
So that's why I was thinking,
My mom was like not reckless, but she was definitely living her normal life. Actually,
that's interesting.
Like she still went to work and everything.
yeah,
Right.
that's true. Because
Yeah.
my dad totally became a hermit, but
like my aunt.
yeah. He's staying at home. So we'll see. I'll update you guys on what my life looks like in Indonesia.
Yeah. My mom,
That's
like,
right.
like my
Yeah.
mom was still living her normal life, like going wherever she wanted, whenever.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from a mask and everything, and like but I think if we were to live together, it wouldn't be COVID that creates the issue. It would just be the
General
general.
with your mom.
Yeah.
General tense
Liam, I hope you don't get
situation.
trapped in Indo when watch when you go there and it's like next strain Zeta.
Oh, let's not.
New York got hit with
Let's
Zeta. You cannot come in.
I mean, so that's actually the thing I worry about for international travel is that it's not the safety part that I'm worried about. It's about how the country responds.
But then
Right.
the thing is, you'll always be able to come back home.
Not if they don't allow flights out, though.
Yeah.
Something died.
Something
No,
died.
one of the cameras has an auto shut off
Uh-huh.
after a certain time.
Oh, I
Alright.
see.
Yeah.
Is that our cue?
I think that's our cue, guys. Well,
Okay.
I'm glad thank you guys for, chatting with me about this because it's not always a easy topic to chat
it's
about
not,
and it's
yeah.
different for everybody and we want to respect
Yes.
everyone's, whether you think it's, okay to be living your life normal or there's a lot of things to worry about. We want to respect that. So
Yeah.
for us, because we started this podcast, we talked about how it was going, then we checked in and
Yeah.
now I feel like we're not out of the woods, but maybe the woods has become the meadow. You know what I mean? Like it's now there's no,
Such
you know
a
what I
good
mean? Like
metaphor,
it's like
Dan.
before you're like, oh, I'm gonna get out of the woods, but then if
This
you're
is-
like, well, there is no more forest because this is the new norm. Then you're not clinging to this hope. That's at least where.
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
like we're
yeah,
at.
I think
wait,
overall I'm
wait.
trying to like move on and
Wait,
live
your
life
message
the
is to
best I
not
can.
cling on to the hope anymore, to become hopeless.
Yeah, because I feel like people should just like.
That is what I always say. The key to
okay.
happiness
Hold
is
on.
low expectations.
No.
That is what I
the
always
message
say.
is be a cockroach.
Be a cockroach, exactly.
Adapt
Well,
Survive
to
everything.
situations.
we
Survive
are in New
everything.
York, and
Yes.
Survival is
there's
key.
millions of cockroaches in New York, so
Yes.
we're just warning.
I don't know, guys. Let's just stop here.
All
Thanks
right,
for
guys.
listening.
Let us know where your thoughts are in terms of like, are you living life normal? Are you still hoping that things will go back to how they were before 2020?
Yep.
Let us know, guys.
Bye.
Bye.